You made it. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
I had to burp. And I was trying
When we have no guest here, we go just fine.
I know, 20 seconds of silence.
5 seconds in of having a guest here, you're just like on the floor laughing. After explaining to the guests we're not laughing.
We're not going to laugh.
Then you're the one that laughs.
I'm the worst. The worst. Hey,
kidding.
everybody. Welcome to another amazing week of Case Files with Kat.
And Ashley.
And Melissa.
Hey.
That's awesome. So Melissa is here with us today because I was explaining to her in the kitchen earlier. I said, you know, we do a lot of stories about domestic violence, but we never actually talk about specifically domestic violence. And so Ashley had come up with the idea to invite Melissa, who is Bay Area Turning Point's Outreach, Education, and Prevention Manager, to talk to us about DV. And, you know, I'm sure there's stories and questions that we're going to ask. And I told her, we're going to interrupt you because that's just what we do.
Well, yeah. And, you know, I just, I heard Melissa speak, and just the amount of people who didn't realize all of the things that domestic violence can be. It's not just bruises that you can see. And so I think it's important for people to know, you know, just more other than what the common, you know, thoughts are about it. Like it's,
right.
You know,
I think she said something like she was surprised at the amount of questions and the types of questions. Like there was just a lot, she said. And I that surprised me too. I don't know that I would have.
Well, and I think a lot of people didn't want to publicly ask questions too. So I think just openly talking about it where people don't have to necessarily ask the question, it would be helpful.
That's awesome. Okay, yes. So if you're listening to this, we say it all the time, but if you ever need to reach out to anybody, you can reach out to us. We will give you resources. We will help you get to safety, or if you just have questions about a friend or anything like that, reach out to us. We tell you all the time. Okay, so I had a question of the week.
Yes.
Do you have it up?
I do.
Okay.
The question of, oh man, now it's not loading.
Here, this is what happens.
No. It was. Okay. I had all the answers up, so then I had to back out. Okay, it says,
vampires hate garlic. Fairies hate iron. I didn't know that. That's new to me.
I didn't know that either.
Ghosts hate salt. Werewolves hate wolfsbane. If one substance was your bane, what would it be?
I'm pretty sure last time I said IPA, but I know you're going to roll your eyes. So I will say the other thing I can't stand at all is mayonnaise. I hate mayonnaise. Don't like it.
Really?
Won't eat a burger if it's on it.
Really?
Don't like it. No. It has to be like mixed in with something like a sauce or like deviled eggs or whatever. It can't just be mayonnaise.
But can you tell the difference? What if it looked like mayonnaise? It was like it was butter or something.
What?
I don't know.
Why would there be butter on a hamburger bun?
Because you
on the bun, But no, if I can taste it, if it looks like mayonnaise, if it smells like mayonnaise, if I can taste it, it's not one of those things that I can just scrape off and keep going. I won't eat it, period. I won't even use a knife that someone else used to cut their burger if their burger had mayonnaise. I can't do it. It's gross. I don't like it.
That is so
my mom also hates mayonnaise, so I don't know if it was just like passed down. I don't know. I hate it. I only like it when it's mixed in with like other stuff where I can't taste it. Yeah.
I that can't be hereditary, but maybe it is.
I don't know.
Maybe that's going to be a new 23andMe questionnaire. Do you like mayonnaise? Yes or no? We'll ask all your relatives. All right. How about you, Melissa? I know you said you answered it on Facebook.
I did.
But what was your answer?
Ashley, after what you just said, you're going to hate my answer. Hard-boiled eggs.
So you don't even like deviled eggs?
Nope.
No deviled. No.
I don't like the texture. I don't like the smell of them. I will eat eggs any other way except for hard-boiled.
See,
weirdest thing.
What's weird is I hate runny fried eggs. I will not eat them. I won't eat the yolk.
I love them.
But I will eat scrambled eggs. I will eat deviled eggs. I will eat the yolk in any other format unless it's runny.
See, I just started eating them that way probably, what's this year? 5 years ago.
What's this year?
What's this year?
So hold on.
It's been that year.
You've only started eating eggs 5 years ago?
No, the runny eggs.
Oh, runny eggs.
Like poached eggs, like over medium, things like that, where the yolk is actually running. Before that, I would only eat them scrambled.
Yeah, I have a lot of weird food things. So
Well, and I'm one of those weird people, so I hate cucumbers.
I do
but
too.
I'll eat anything made out of cucumbers.
Yes.
And up
same.
until probably 2 years ago, I hated tomatoes, but I would eat anything made out of tomatoes. Now I'll eat tomatoes, but
I am the same way. I hate
hates
cucumbers,
tomatoes.
but I'll eat pickles all day long.
So,
cucumbers.
which
Hate
segues
tomatoes.
perfectly into my answer, which is
Sorry, we're just
pickles.
running away with the show here.
Yeah. Can't do.
You're out. That's it. Melissa's the new host. It's now Case Files with Melissa and Ashley.
But give me a cucumber.
We're still going to have the show in your house, though, and use your equipment.
Yeah.
But you can just watch from the kitchen.
And the wizard will still have to be the fucking wizard.
Yes. Well, he didn't upset us, just you.
Oh, this is going to come out Friday, by the way.
like that is blasphemy.
I know. I have never, ever, ever liked anything pickled. Anything pickled.
I love pickled stuff.
Nope.
Love it.
So, did y'all know that you can pickle a cucumber without it actually turning into a pickle?
No, I did not.
I did not realize this until I went to this restaurant like across town somewhere, and they had pickled cucumbers on a pizza, and they weren't exactly pickles, but they were pickled. So
I don't know that
it was
that's possible.
It is.
Really?
So
Wow.
it doesn't sit as long in the brine.
Do you eat pickled eggs?
I don't know that I've ever had one.
Well, they're hard boiled, but they're pickled, and you'll eat anything pickled.
I did not say anything. I said okay, let me take that back. I will eat
Pig's
most things. Nope. Okay, let's look at like normal stuff,
Okay,
like
all right,
pickled
all right.
carrots, pickled
Oh,
onions.
God,
Yeah.
They're so good.
Okay, y'all are just. I know. I'm the oddball, but that's my thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So
We had so many answers, by the way.
As long as you didn't say
So
bacon. I
many
saw somebody
answers.
say bacon.
someone said bacon.
Oh,
Somebody said
that's it. They're
bacon.
going to be banned from the page unless it was that. Oh my God.
No, I just remember seeing it.
It's not my family.
I can deal with
I think
somebody
I'm
saying
going to
pickles.
weed out my friends list by looking at your answers a lot.
You're like, not your friend, not your friend. Yeah, basic.
New phone.
Yeah, basic. Yeah, basic. Block, block, block.
We're just
that's
kidding. We
funny.
love all of you,
Okay.
kind of.
Kind of. Okay, so we do have a voicemail
Yes. of
left
course,
by
yes,
Sarah. Sarah.
Before I play this voicemail, I want to give a shout out.
Oh,
because we there was a business event, and Deanne, who we've talked about many times, she comes up to me and she says, I was at this wedding and I met this lady and we got to talking, and somehow the podcast came up and she talked about how she was a huge fan. And so her name is Erin Cooper. I hope I got that right. Erin Cooper. Y'all met at Lee and Tyler's wedding. So thank you for being a fan. Thank you for listening. It's very exciting when we hear about people in the wild who love us.
And her phone number is, I'm just kidding, first and last name. Yeah, we have talked about Deanne before. Her son was the one that entered into the Emily Morgan Hotel. Is that right? He was shooting in there or something?
He was shooting, so I want to say it was, but honestly, I can't remember where he was shooting. He was shooting somewhere, and he had
I feel like that was
the scratches on his arms and stuff. But I think she said that's happened a few times.
Yeah, no.
I lost the voicemail, sorry.
Okay, so that'll come later in the episode.
I'm so sorry.
She's going to look for that while we're talking. But, okay, so Melissa, I know you have like a spiel that you normally do when we talk about domestic violence.
Don't make me give the spiel.
I'm not going to make you give the spiel. We're drinking alcohol. You can't do the spiel. Like this is, but
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Not all
this
of us
is
are drinking
Case
alcohol.
Files. Okay, but she is. She's drinking. That's what we didn't do. We didn't talk about what we're drinking.
Yes, y'all talk about what you're drinking.
You're drinking what?
I'm drinking Carbach Ranch Water Prickly Pear.
And so that sounds delicious, actually.
It is actually very delicious.
Is it a cocktail or is it like a Truly?
It's like a Truly,
Okay.
but it's not as sweet as Truly's.
Oh, Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
it's got more of like the beer-ish flavor to it.
Oh,
Than a
interesting.
Truly. First, I mean, I like Trulies, but honestly, they're way too sweet for me. These, I mean, the prickly pear is sweet, but it still kind of has that more carbonated taste.
Oh, okay. Right on. And I'm just drinking a Tex-Hex because that's what I just have a lot of in my house.
I found the voicemail.
Okay, so now we're going to go into the Sarah segment.
Hey y'all, it's Sarah with this week's Sarah segment. Just gotta say that I've missed y'all the past 2 weeks, so I'm excited for this week's episode. And all I'm gonna chime in this week is go Astros, boo Yankees. Okay, that's all. Bye.
This is a note from Jason. Sarah, can you next time record yourself inside of the airplane or in the jet of the airplane that you're in? Like, where are you when you're recording this? It just sounds like so loud, and you can't take
It does honestly sound like, at least on our end, it sounds like you're in an airplane.
It sounds like you're in front of the airplane jet. It just sounds so loud. So he can't take that out. So next time, just, leave us a voice memo. It doesn't have to actually be on the voicemail. Like, that's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
But we still love you, Sarah. You're welcome anytime.
It's so,
you're not banned anymore.
I would just like to say I want to know what the bet's going to be between my family and my Yankee family this year for the playoffs. It's always been some form of alcohol or food.
Okay, well, I think the other team should have to wear the other team's swag for like a whole day.
Oh, we have no problem doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but one year there was a brisket on the line. One year there was whiskey on the line.
Okay, well.
The New York hot dogs that you get on the street. Oh, man. I love when we get those.
Oh, you ask for them to send you New York hot dogs?
Yeah, we have a bet.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think one year it was, if the Astros won, they had to send us the Sabrette hot dogs from New York. And if we won, we had to send them a brisket from Texas.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well.
I don't watch baseball, but I need to make some kind of bet with my family to win.
Go straight.
Send me all the country ham from North Carolina. And I will send you, I don't know, a Texas brisket, Bucky's Nuggets or something.
Right.
They love Bucky's. Anything from Bucky's.
Anything. So. I mean,
I do that trade. When my little brother lived in North Carolina, he would send me country ham, and I would send him Bucky's beef jerky. Yeah.
Oh wow. All right. So anyway,
Yes,
so we're getting on to the thing. So so back to your spiel, not spiel. You want to just give an overview of domestic violence and just kind of do like that basic spiel? Because we're not going to talk about work, but like our workplace in particular and what we offer, but like very macro level of domestic violence, signs, and what people can do. I'm just going to let you take it away.
Yeah. If you just leave it open like that, we're going to be here all night.
Well,
that's fine.
So I'm just kidding.
Tasha's was like, no, we're not. I'm going to cut the shit short.
I'm going to cut y'all off in like an hour. No. So if we're talking about the legal definition in Texas, it focuses on, and I don't have the words right in front of me, but it focuses on physical abuse. So somebody intending harm to a member of the household, a family member. Whenever we're talking about domestic violence, the relationships that would qualify for domestic violence would be a relative, whether that be through blood or through marriage. That could be an intimate partner, a dating partner, a spouse, or a roommate, because the definition says that it can be a household member. If you're living with somebody, even if you're not related, they're still a household member. So that's why that will be considered domestic violence.
Can it be just someone you're dating that you don't live with?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be a dating partner as well. So you hear different terms being used. You hear family violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, dating violence. It's all interchangeable, but they do kind of refer to a specific relationship. So whenever you hear domestic violence, that's kind of the umbrella of everything. Whenever you hear family violence, they're talking more about spouses or relatives.
Like elder abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Or child abuse.
Yeah. Whenever you're talking about intimate partner violence, you're talking, again, about either a spouse or a significant other that you have that relationship with where you are living together. You have been together for a long time. It's not a casual relationship. And then the dating violence would be more that casual relationship. You haven't really taken that step to where you're living together, where you have kids together. You're not talking about marriage. Been on a couple of dates, but abuse can still happen. So the broad definition that we like to give is domestic violence is a pattern of systematic abusive behavior used to gain or maintain power and control over another person. So domestic violence, sexual assault, that is all about power and control. One of the things that we like to do whenever we're talking to people is a little myth and fact activity. And one of the things that we ask, or one of the statements that we give, is anger management is an effective way to address deep-rooted issues that lead to domestic violence. Is that true or false? A lot of people think that that's true. But
I thought you were about to say it was true.
Domestic violence has nothing to do with anger. It has to do with power and control.
I think in movies they do show that it's really I'm angry at you, and then so that's an incorrect. That's an incorrect.
So that kind of jumps ahead to risk factors. A lot of times abusers will associate anger with violence. Anger is an emotion. Anger is something that we can deal with in a healthy manner. Violence is a behavior. So violence and anger don't necessarily go hand in hand. You don't have to be violent if you're angry. If I'm angry, I go for a run and listen to angry music. That is a healthy way to do. Maybe not the music that I listen to, but that is a healthier way of dealing with your anger. Crying too.
I cry and I'm like, just because I'm crying doesn't mean you've won.
But that's a way
just the way I get it out.
That's a way to release emotion. It doesn't matter what the emotion is. That's a way to release emotion. And that's another risk factor is suppressing your emotions. If you don't release your emotions, then that can, so the example that I use is a Coke bottle. Imagine that the contents of a Coke bottle are your emotions. So what happens whenever you get the smallest little shake of those emotions, whenever they've been building and building and building, that pressure builds and then there's an explosion.
Keep going.
We've got a concert going on over here.
In a golf cart. In a golf cart.
So that's the example I like to use to express or to talk about that is the expression or suppression of feelings and emotions. People think that expressing your emotions is weakness. Whenever in fact, it should be a strength. It should be considered a strength. Because whenever you are releasing those emotions, you are feeling your feelings. That's a way of healing.
And I think that's probably why so many men are more likely to be perpetrators of violence because they're not being taught to show those other emotions. They can show anger, but they can't show sadness or,
Well, unfortunately, whenever we're born, whatever gender we are assigned at birth, we are put into a box.
Right.
So we are put into this box of man and woman. And we are told what it means to be a man, what defines a man, and then what it means to be a woman, what defines a woman. Yeah. So what it means to be a man is that you're strong. You don't show emotion. That's what kids are taught from birth. That's what little boys are taught from the moment they come out of the womb is that you don't show emotion. You are a strong, dominant person.
Man up.
Man up. Exactly. Throw some dirt on it. Shake it off. Boys don't cry. That's what they're taught.
It's a great Cure song. So that's going into the solving the issue is how do you, I'm skipping way ahead, but if we're already putting people in boxes at birth, what chance does anyone have, I guess, unless you have people who are cool, like, cry it out, son. Cry it out.
At the moment, there's not enough people that are willing to let their children break out of these boxes. There's not enough people willing to break out of these boxes regardless. Period.
For themselves.
What it's going to take is for people to unlearn these behaviors. For people to stop saying this is what it means to be a man. This is what it means to be a woman. Because they're leaving out a whole other population there.
So if a perpetrator goes to anger management, they're being taught how to
Manage anger.
what? Just manage their anger.
Mm-hmm. So what we would like for people to go to are better intervention programs, better intervention and prevention programs. What these do is these do address those deep-rooted issues.
Better intervention?
Yes,
Okay.
better intervention and prevention programs. So these are offered through criminal justice programs. And what these do is these do address those deep-rooted issues that has caused somebody to become a perpetrator of domestic violence or sexual assault. And what these do is they hold the people accountable for their actions. And unfortunately, as a society, we are not holding abusers accountable for their actions. We are instead blaming the victims, asking why they don't leave. And that is a whole other ball game right there.
It makes me so angry on all of these articles. Like, you see the comment stuff of people going on and on about, well, why didn't she just leave, or why didn't he just leave, as if it's just like that easy to do. It's not easy to do when it's not a domestic violence situation, let alone in that case. Because I've heard you guys say before, like, that's the most dangerous time, right, for a victim.
And usually this is my interactive piece of the presentations that I give. But 2 numbers that I'm going to throw out that I want burned into people's brains. In Texas in 2021, sorry, I'm big with hand movements. In Texas in 2021, 44% of the homicides that occurred were whenever somebody was trying to seek help or trying to leave. 44%, almost half of domestic violence related homicides. So whenever they were trying to leave. Nationally, that number is much bigger. Nationally, that number is 75%. 75% of domestic violence related homicides in the nation happen whenever somebody's trying to leave, because the abuser has lost that power and control. And just because you get somebody out safely does not mean that they are safe, because it can take up to a year or 2 before the abuser decides to just give up. They will continue searching for that person.
That's heavy. Like, I just want everybody to sit with that for a little bit. And, you know, we've talked about Savannah. We've had Savannah's dad, Michael Kinchin, on the show to talk about, he was still, Trent was still on the run, so they hadn't found him. They were following his social media movements. He had a bunch of different aliases and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't for the girl that he was dating at the time. Something spooked her, and she found out who he was when he was asleep, and she ran, grabbed her stuff and ran, and called the police, and he shot himself when the police arrived. That woman was interviewed by Lifetime, and they found out before the episode aired that she had killed herself, that young woman. And I don't think that wherever she was in her life, she left behind 2 younger children, which is heart-wrenching. But what I believe Savannah's parents felt was that she was another victim of Trent's, because whatever was happening in that relationship, I'm sure she didn't think that he would shoot himself. But then her action to call the police to turn him in probably did not sit well with her.
Yeah.
And she had tried to reach out to the Kinchins, but they were not ready to speak with her. And I think that probably weighs heavy on them now, but they just weren't ready. They probably still aren't ready to have had a conversation with her, but she did commit suicide. I'm sure all of that. I don't know where she was in her life to end up with Trent living in a van, but she ran as soon as she found out who he was. Something happened.
And while she lost her own life, that's definitely a shame, because I am curious if she was falling into the same trap that he had set for Savannah. But at the same time, she was very brave doing what she did.
Yep.
And she probably saved several more lives.
So one thing that I heard at the event, well, there was a couple of numbers they threw out about, and I don't know the exact numbers, so that's why I'm asking. They said 1 in every, how many people are probably or experience domestic violence? I think they said 1 in 4.
1 in 4.
Is that women or 1 in 4 people?
1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men.
Wow.
And that's something that people don't really know how to talk about, or
I don't think it. I think it's that they don't want to believe that it could be someone that they know, or that it could even be themselves, right? Like they want to convince that it's happening to someone else, and they don't want to think about it, is what I think. Because I know that when those numbers were said, it was kind of like an eye opener for a lot of people who haven't experienced domestic violence themselves. So,
well, and a lot of people that become perpetrators or become victims have possibly experienced abuse in their homes before. That is one of the risk factors, but also one of the red flags of domestic violence is it occurred in the homes whenever they were children, whether it was to them or they witnessed it. Because whenever you're a child, you know, what you see is what you know.
yeah.
You don't know any different. So whenever you grow up in a home where there's abuse, that's viewed as normal.
Yeah.
They don't know any different.
if someone treats you like this, that's what you know to be, that's how you're supposed to be treated.
Exactly. And, you know, on the other side, if I see one parent treating another like this, that's how I'm supposed to treat my spouse or my partner.
If they're the same gender as you are. Yeah. We have a friend who will come over sometimes, and we're the escape house, you know, like, but there's a child involved, and he's the stay-home parent, and so he's dependent on her salary. They have a son with autism, and so he is the primary caregiver. He is the caregiver, and he needs her money.
On that note, can you talk about some of the other ways that they might be controlled? You know, like I know you've mentioned before, like the financial side of things, like it's not just physical. So can you talk about some of like the other factors that are part of domestic violence?
Yes. So what we like to use is is the power and control wheel. I can't tell you exactly who created it, but we do use it quite often. It can be found online. So this kind of goes over the different ways that people manipulate and abuse others. So they will use intimidation. They'll make threats. They will display weapons. They'll abuse pets. They'll destroy property. I'm sorry if you touch my dog, like I'm either going to fly off the rails or I'm going to stay right where I am because I don't want my baby being hurt. That's another reason why a lot of people stay, is because whenever pets are involved, they don't want to leave their pet behind.
Fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah. There's also the emotional abuse, the verbal abuse. So whenever people are being put down, being called names, being blamed for their own victimization, that's also the minimizing, denying, and blaming. So making light of the abuse, saying it never happened, or making the victim think that it's their fault. We also have gaslighting, which falls under the emotional abuse. We have isolation, which we saw a big rise in, or I don't think it was necessarily, it was definitely a rise, but I don't think it really came to light that this was a method being used until COVID hit, whenever people couldn't leave their homes. But this is basically where their abuser is saying where you can go, what you can do, who you can talk to, who you can follow on social media, what you can wear, what you can, just what you can do, period. They control every aspect of your life. And then they cut you off from any kind of support system that you have. So if you do decide to leave, you have nowhere to go.
Do you happen to know about the increase in domestic violence during COVID? I remember it was like a huge increase in Texas.
I don't have the numbers here in front of me, but it was a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you're talking about are you talking about the number of homicides?
Maybe. I just remember at the event, like one of the numbers was like the increase of homicides and violence during COVID.
Cases definitely went up. Homicides went up 23% from 2019 to 2020. So
it went down a bit from 2020 to 2021, but it's still over. So in Texas alone, there were still over 200. I don't remember the exact number. 204.
Yeah, I just remember it was like when that number came up, it was
228
mind-blowing.
the year before.
So, and the other thing to kind of touch on, though, and I think this is what they report on TCFV, the Texas Council on Family Violence. They report on intimate partner violence. They're not touching on the other stuff. They're not touching on the roommates. They're not touching on the family members. This is intimate partner violence cases that they're reporting.
That's interesting.
And these are reported. So, yeah, homicides are reported, but it's not always reported as a domestic violence or intimate partner homicide. Especially, being in Texas, especially if it is a LGBTQ plus couple. They're not necessarily going to classify it as domestic violence.
So you started talking about the power control wheel. You got intimidation.
I only got halfway through it.
Sorry. I get real fascinated by numbers because like I think it's so mind-blowing when you think about how much is happening around you when you're not seeing what's happening behind closed doors. Like it's insane to me. So sorry, I will not interrupt while you talk about the rest of the wheel.
No, it's totally okay. Y'all interrupt away. So then we have, oh man, what's next on the wheel? I might be skipping over something. Y'all forgive me. So you have your economic abuse. This is where they're making their victims ask for money. They give them an allowance. They won't let them have access to family funds. You basically have to ask for any kind of money. So even, sometimes even if the victim is the breadwinner, the abuser has so much control over them that they will still control all the money. You do have, and no offense to men here, I did not create this wheel, but statistically speaking, most of the time perpetrators are men, most of the time victims are female. Male privilege is another one. So men acting like they're master of the castle, and going back to what we were talking about with those gender roles, the boxes that we get put in whenever we're born. So men are born to be the dominant ones. They're born to be the strong ones. They're born to be the leaders. And they basically feel like they're entitled to whatever they want because they were born male. So that's another one. This is what the boxes that I was talking about. We refer to that as gender socialization. So what society defines what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. And then you have coercive tactics. So that's when people are threatening suicide. If you leave me, I'm going to kill myself.
I see that a lot. Like I hear that a lot from people that I know.
It's a control tactic.
Yikes.
Yeah. So they will threaten to commit suicide if the person leaves them. They'll threaten to report them to welfare. They will threaten to report them to immigration. We see this a lot with undocumented survivors. Yeah. Oh, the other one that I was missing was using children. So they'll use children to try to relay messages to the victim. They'll use the children to try to guilt trip the victim. They'll use visitation to make threats. And then they'll threaten to take the children away because they know that if the victim leaves, they have nowhere to go. They have no support system. Basically, they're going to be out on the streets. And so they will bring that to the custody hearings and say, well, she ain't got nowhere to go. They're going to be living on the streets or in a shelter. So that is the sad realities of domestic violence.
I don't even know what to ask. I don't even know. Like, it's so tragic that it's so common and there's not really a way to stop it, you know, until it's too late in most cases. And it's just really, really sad.
And there's lots of national numbers and, you know, there's the different hotlines to call. So I'm just going to plug it again here. If you need help finding resources, we can help you find that.
Yes, we've had people reach out to us.
And since it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we've felt it only appropriate to talk about this during the month. But we talk about it so much in our stories. But it's just a passing part of the story. A lot of them, a lot of the stories that we talk about, you know, especially serial killers, most, if not all, had, you know, abusive home lives or were abused by their parents, but, you know, that sort of thing. So I mean, just I think almost all of them.
So I think another misconception I see a lot is that it only happens in adult relationships. How common is it, like, in like teen relationships? Because I know
there's a statistic for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I believe that statistic is 1 in 10 teens.
Oh,
I know
wow.
it's 1.5 million teens nationally annually are in teen dating violence relationships.
And this is, again, not just physical. It can be sexual and financial and coercive and all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
whenever your 15-year-old is coming home and getting 30 messages from her boyfriend within 20 minutes, that's not normal.
Okay, what else isn't normal?
I mean, you see a lot of the same things that you do. I mean, you see a lot of the same red flags. They're extremely jealous. They're controlling. They try to isolate the victim. They try to tell them that this sport and that sport aren't good for them, or you shouldn't be hanging out with that person. They don't like me. I don't think your mom likes me either. Maybe we shouldn't be around your parents as much.
Wow. It is, what's the word that I'm looking for? Stalking. Is stalking a sign of is that on the abuse wheel, or is that something totally separate?
So stalking is, I don't think it's on the power and control wheel, but that is also a tactic that is used. A lot of times they're going to use that tactic whenever they feel like they're losing control or whenever the person is left. But they will also keep tabs on their victim while they're still in the relationship. So they'll put tracking devices. They'll hack into their location services. That's why it's important to, if you feel like you're in a domestic violence relationship or you feel like things are off, keep your location services off.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your profiles and your email, all that, private.
Change your passwords.
Change passwords. Yeah, and that's another thing that they do is ask for passwords. Because, you know, if we really trusted each other, we should be able to have each other's passwords. But I'm not going to give you mine. You just got to give me yours. That's another control tactic.
I did some research because there is like a stalking awareness month. I can't remember when that is. I think it's January.
Every month.
It's January, I think.
Yeah, and it gets overshadowed by human trafficking awareness.
Right. But what I was learning was that of the femicides, which is women who were killed by men, I think it was the statistic was 75% of those who were killed, who were in relationships at the time, had all been stalked within that year by their partner.
Mm-hmm. I have not seen that statistic, but it doesn't surprise me.
There's a whole website, stalkinginformation.org or something.
Yeah,
I'll have to look that up. But there's just lots and lots and lots of information. And my mind was just being blown up because I was like, I had no idea, because it's not seen as that big of a deal. When a police officer is arresting someone for stalking you, then it's like, leave her alone, There's not.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, and that's when they take it seriously.
When they take it seriously,
because we've done many stories where a person has reported someone multiple times for stalking them, for harassing them, for showing up at their job, for not following restraining orders, and then they get killed before the police ever take it serious.
Savannah's husband was stalking her. And they had to get a restraining order on him before she was even dead.
So something that I do want to clarify is whenever it does come to domestic violence, stalking, sexual assault, human trafficking, you do not want to get a restraining order. You want to get a protective order.
Oh, what's the difference?
Big difference.
Well, the business got the restraining order.
Business, yes, because restraining orders protect property.
Oh.
Whereas a protective order will protect actual people. So protective orders are specific to domestic violence, sexual assault, trafficking, and stalking.
Yeah, he would show up at night looking for her and show up in the windows. And look, funeral homes are already scary.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like, you just see this face, looking through the window.
Y'all can't see this, but my eyes just got really big because just even that thought is terrifying.
I could just burn it down. And he was so pasty pale white. I'd be like, a ghost.
Where's the salt? Where's the salt?
Yeah,
where's the salt?
Yeah. So stalking is even someone who used to work with us, who went to go work at a police department. I think that he was telling me, or telling John, that there's like a quota. We can only arrest somebody so many times, or in a month you can only have so many stalking arrests. After that, you just kind of have to give them a slap on the wrist.
Shouldn't that be a sign if you've arrested them multiple times?
It happens so often that there's a cap. And I guess
it happens so
even
often,
makes sense.
That doesn't make sense at all. I would think that if it happens so often, then that's whenever you slap them in county.
Well, it's not just one person. There are so many different people getting arrested for stalking. And it's a very small number, 10. But if 10 people in a month are getting arrested for stalking, and there's like 10 more and you're not arresting them because you've already met your quota, that's crazy. I guess that is so much red tape. They don't want it for something like that, because these people are probably in relationships. And you're back why don't they just leave?
Mm-hmm.
And you're back in that situation. They're not going to press charges, or they're not going, there's just probably red tape. There's the bureaucracy of it.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Yes, there are some police officers that don't take things seriously, but what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of times their hands are tied.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the ones that get to make that call. They can make the arrest, but they can't make the charges go through.
So is there a situation outside of the victim dying where the police can press the charges even if the victim says no? Or does it always have to be the victim has to be the one that says, I want to press charges?
No. Extreme circumstances like aggravated assault.
Yeah.
They will.
What's aggravated assault?
Whenever there's extensive bodily injury, a weapon's being used, there's kidnapping, extreme measures. That's whenever it's kind of out of the victim's hands. Mm-hmm. So, and that kind of leads me to another point. Do y'all know what the leading red flag is to domestic violence homicide?
Oh, I do. But I work there.
Yeah, you're not allowed to answer.
I can't even guess.
Strangulation.
Oh.
And not the fun kind.
Nope.
Just had to put it in there.
Look, guys, this is a very serious subject, so we have to like break it up where we can because it is.
I just had to. Just like, this one knows what I'm talking about. No, I'm just kidding.
And in true Case Files with Kat and Ashley fashion, we had a technical glitch. A glitch so bad that even our effing wizard couldn't fix it. So, you know what this means. It means you get the next half hour of your life back. You're welcome. But in the meantime, the conversation that Ashley and Melissa and I had was really important. And we want to make sure that you check out the show notes. We're going to have all the links to the pieces that we talked about, but also resources. We have them. If you need anything, we say it all the time, reach out. We'll help you find help. See you all next week, everyone. Bye.